welcome to the Nasboys podcast. I'm your host, Mike, aka Mike Fob Fan 101, with my good friend and co-host Christian, aka Savage NASCAR.
What it do, Nasboys crew?
So, this is the second to last week of the NASCAR season. I am really sad by this, as always, when it comes to this time of season. And I also want to apologize real quick if my voice sounds really hoarse. If you can't tell, I'm a Redskin fan or a Commanders fan, whatever you want to call them. And I just came back from their game where they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I was screaming. So if my voice sounds really bad, I would like to sincerely apologize. But going into this weekend's episode, we will be talking about the final four cutoff races for the Xfinity and Cup Series at Martinsville. I felt like this was a very eventful weekend. I just looked at all the recaps and I'm ready to talk about all the stuff that has happened this weekend. Would you like to start with Xfinity or Cup?
Honestly, we should start with Xfinity. I mean,
Low key, that's where the controversy was.
yeah, I mean, Martinsville is obviously one of the most favorite short tracks in the United States, but especially for NASCAR. In the last couple of years, it's provided mediocre racing. But I felt like this weekend it was better than last year, that's for sure. But I guess let's just go ahead and start with the Xfinity series. So, in this race, there was a bunch of different leaders. Sammy Smith, he was someone that needed to win to advance. He was so far behind in points, but he ended up leading 147 of the 256 laps and went to overtime. And a couple other drivers that led, John Hurt Nemechek, who I picked to win, he led 54 laps. He ended up falling back and getting involved in a wreck at the end. And then Austin Hill, he needed to win and get a good finish to advance. He led 22 laps. So I thought that I knew the end was going to be crazy. I was like, something's going to happen. They had so many wrecks, they had 15 cautions, I believe. And that's just insane. We haven't seen that many cautions in a NASCAR race in a minute. But the Xfinity series in Martinsville has been chaos. We saw what happened last year with Ty Gibbs wrecking his own teammate to advance, or to not advance, but just to win. He had already advanced and took out his teammates' chances to win the championship. And then we have controversy with RCR. So I guess I gotta say, Mike, what do you think about that finish there? And because I'm sure we're going to probably have a little bit of different opinion on it, but there was a lot of people that weren't happy with Sheldon Creed.
So throughout the race, I thought it was really solid. There was nothing really too much eventful. I felt like it was mostly a typical Martinsville race. I enjoyed a lot of the close quarters racing. I will say they wrecked a little too much. That was really annoying. I felt like they could run 5 laps and then just end up somebody spins out. But going into the finish, for one, that big wreck toward the end that caused, I want to say, a 20 or 30-minute red flag. That was really annoying. If you haven't seen that wreck, here it is.
Oh, we got cars out of control down the back straightaway, gets spun around. Maya Snyder, big contact.
Pile up on the backstretch, caution comes back out. Can't get through with all the cars on the backstretch. Here's another look at what happened.
Yeah, so the 00, Cole Custer had to back up a little bit right there, and it just caused a little bit of a chain reaction. Cole was 3 wide and said, you know what, I'm not going to make contact with anybody here. He sort of checked up just a touch, and then a lot of cars getting in each other right there. Just everybody going for the same spot late in the race. You can't lift, you can't let off, you can't give an inch.
Yeah, that was just, I felt like an accordion effect. Nothing really too much to add on about it, but going into the actual finish, which is what a lot of people really want to hear.
Back to the gas they go. Way up the racetrack goes Hill. Creed into the back of the 21. He doesn't push him up high enough, but here he comes. He gets to the inside. The white flag's in the air. One more time around. The 7 got into the wall. Now Creed pushing the 21 up the racetrack. They're side by side. Creed has to win to make it into the championship 4. He's never won in the Xfinity Series. They smoked the tires. Here comes the 7. Contact made. The 7 of Allgaier on the inside. Creed, Allgaier's going to win at Martinsville. And they wreck on the front stretch. Big contact.
I felt that Sheldon really needed to race like that because, for one, like we talked about, Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed will not be teammates next year. Sheldon Creed is apparently going to Joe Gibbs Racing. I don't know exactly how true that is, but from the source I've read, he's been correct with a lot of things that I've had reported on the show. But I felt Sheldon definitely needed to race Austin like that. He was in a worse spot than Austin. I think Austin was only a few points below the cut line, whereas Sheldon was in a must-win position. And I don't blame Sheldon for racing like that at all. But Sheldon did screw up right at the end once he got by Austin Hill, where he slowed down in the corner. I don't know if it was a brake check or if he just slowed down way too much. He thought the car was going to get loose and spin out. I don't know, but he definitely made a mistake slowing down too much. Ended up, Hill didn't realize he was slowing down and then just ended up hitting his nose and then causing another big wreck. That stuff happens at Martinsville. But what I will say is a little annoying is the way that I felt Andy Petrie and Richard Childress were treating, and Austin Hill, as a matter of fact, were treating Sheldon Creed. Sheldon Creed, yes, he did screw both drivers' chances of making it into the championship 4 because you could have at least had one car in the race if Sheldon had won. Even though I still felt Allgaier was the faster car. But it seemed like they were a little harsh on Sheldon throughout the season. Like we saw a video of Andy Petrie actually yelling at Sheldon Creed right after he got out of the car. Here is that. And then after that incident, Sheldon said that that's part of the reason why he's leaving RCR. So I felt like Austin and Richard and all that. And Richard actually said Sheldon is the stupidest driver to ever race for him, which, first of all, Richard, you've been in the sport long enough to know that you shouldn't be saying stuff like that in the media. And for two, I think both your grandsons are way stupider than Sheldon Creed has ever been in the Xfinity Series. Yes, Sheldon Creed can't win a race all the time, but he gets you good results, and he got you into the playoffs. He is nowhere near the stupidest driver. Just because he made one dumb mistake doesn't make him the stupidest driver to ever race in RCR. But I felt really bad for Sheldon. I wish him the best of luck with his next endeavor. But Justin Allgaier winning the race in that close of a finish, I'm really happy to see Justin win. I didn't expect to see him win. And I hope he gets it done in Phoenix. I'm a big Allgaier fan. Overall, it was a pretty solid race. I would have to give it maybe an 8 out of 10 or a 9.
I think we all want to see Allgaier win. I mean, he's been in the Xfinity Series for such a long time, and he's never won a championship. So, I'm pulling for him too. But that finish, man, that was crazy. I was just super stoked to see how close that was. But talk about a wreck, though. Good grief. Like half the field wrecked off of turn 4. Did you see that hit Jeff Burton took to the inside wall? That was nasty. Yeah. And then, Creed, in my opinion, okay, so here's what I saw. Going into turn 3, Hill came down and hit Creed. If you haven't seen that, then if you didn't see that, I don't know if you're watching the same thing I did. And then Creed, in my opinion, was trying to slow down in the corner because he was drifting up the track. So he had to hit the brakes a little bit, and that allowed Allgaier to get underneath. But Hill didn't even get wrecked by Creed. Hill hit Creed in the back and got spun out by somebody else. So I don't know what they're waffling about that. Like, I don't know what their point is. I know there's some people that, were upset with Creed, like Gator. I don't know what he was trying to cook with his take. But I will say, man, Creed probably is still feeling really bad about it because, how much RCR went in at him with Petrie and, Childress and some other crewers. Like, Hill was talking, doing gestures and saying stuff to Creed's crew chief who had nothing to do with it. Yeah, it's just, he'll also saying stuff on Twitter, which is it's just not a fun situation. It's crazy. They had their fan day on Friday, and the very next race they end up having beef. It's crazy. And then their fan day, they had like people there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Kevin Harvick there. College Racing had their fan day too on the same day. But regardless, I'm excited for the championship race for the Xfinity Series more than the truck race, but not as much as Cup. We'll get to Cup in a little bit, but race overall, I'd give it the finish was a great finish, but I would say the overall race was like a 5 out of 10 because of all the wrecks and then just, people driving stupid. So that's just my personal opinion.
Some notable drivers that I'd like to highlight: Sammy Smith, he won the pole, he won a stage.
Yeah.
Let's see, Daniel Hemrick, he came in 6th. Parker Retzlaff ended up finishing in 7th. Anthony Alfredo was 8th. Jeb Burton, even though he did get a hard hit, he finished in 9th. I think Parker Kligerman, he had a little bit of an incident. He finished up in 10th. Lane Riggs was running really well as well. I saw him in the top 5 a few times. He ended up finishing 11th. Rajat Karuf ended up finishing 12th. CJ McLaughlin ended up finishing in 13th. That's not something you see every day. Josh Williams ended up getting a top 15 in 14th. And Blaine Perkins was really another driver that impressed me. He was in the top 10 from the last part of the race and looked like he was about to get it. And then he got in that last lap incident because of Creed.
Because of Creed, okay.
Okay, well, you get what I meant by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really cool to see Blaine Perkins getting a top 10. You don't see that every day, like I mentioned. But taking a look at what you guys had to say, 100% of people said great. That's awesome. _motorsports_junkie says Alligator W. Yes, Allgaier winning a race definitely makes the race way better. And for the Sheldon Creed versus Austin Hill poll, 80% of people are on Creed's side and 20% are on Austin Hill's side.
Okay.
Motorsport Junkie says, if you don't race your teammate fairly, you won't get raced fairly. I stand with Hill. Well, for one, even though technically speaking, that's your teammate, yeah, I get that. But the thing is that for one, they're not going to be teammates again. Like I mentioned, after Phoenix, they're done. They're not teammates no more. For two, this is Martinsville. You're not going to Formula One drive and try to clean pass everybody. You're racing close quarters. You're bumping into each other. This is the name of the race. This is the cutoff race to try to race for a championship. Of course, you're going to beat and bang. I thought they were racing fairly. I didn't see anything dirty Sheldon did.
Exactly.
And I already mentioned the one mistake that he made that he could have done better to win the race. He did not do anything dirty. I will keep saying this 100 times. Sheldon Creed was not dirty, period.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that.
12_fan for life says Creed was going for the win because he had to advance. Hill could have finished second. Yeah. Pretty much.
True.
Yeah. Did he even go for Austin Hill? No, he didn't. He went for Creed. Okay. But yeah, Hill definitely could have finished second, but he bumped into Sheldon Creed. That stuff happens. Again, it's Martinsville. Driver of the day, Allgaier. I think I got to agree with you. He did win the first stage and he won the race. He might have even led the most laps, but I know he was up front most of the day. So I definitely got to agree with Justin Allgaier.
One driver that definitely impressed me, even though he didn't lead laps, was Jeb Burton. He started very last at 38th and finished 9th. So I'm going to go with Jeb Burton.
That is another good point. Talking about the Cup race, what did you think of it?
I'll be honest with you, looking for people that I know that were going to the race, I was thinking about going, but I didn't. Obviously I had work and a bunch of other stuff going on. I was like, nah. But the traffic was crazy. I was seeing like videos of people was like stuck in traffic 3 hours before the race, 4 hours before the race at like 11 o'clock. Like it looked like really packed, but on TV it looked like there's some seats missing. But regardless, it's a big race. It's a cutoff race. Christopher Bell had already advanced. Um, and Kyle Larson, he seemed to he was going to start well, but I thought that it was just going to be close, like a very close finish, like there was going to be an overtime finish and all that, but that was not the case. It was very very similar to like some 90s Martinsville races I saw where there was only like 10 cars on the lead lap. 12, in this one there was only 12. Just um it was one of those type of fields, just classic short track race where there wasn't a lot of wrecks, but there's a lot of tire issues. We saw a couple wrecks though. We saw Alex Bowman get into a wreck. If you haven't seen that, here it is. Got turned.
That's about a wreck right there. Oh, it is going to be a wreck.
And it is around. The 48 goes around, and the caution will come out.
New tires, maybe you could stay out, but with over 100, I think everyone's going to be looking for pit road. Let's see right here.
This
the
is down
47. Yeah, he gets in the 21, gets him up a little bit. They know the 11's coming.
So he tries to get back down in front of the 48, and the 48's getting a lot of help. The 3, 48 all get into the back of this 21, and just, I don't know if the 21's loose right there, but there's contact, and both cars sort of get behind on the steering and get turned around, and the 7 comes in there. LaJoy makes contact. It just looks like the 21's a little loose, and that, as he gets sideways, it brings him down into the door of the 48.
Turned off of turn 2. He had contact with Harrison Burden. We also saw Ty Gibbs, who I had on my fantasy lineup, get turned around. Here's that.
We got a spin.
Spin going through 3 and 4, and the 54 of Ty Gibbs is around. He was running up in the top 5, and now some cars parked down there in the middle of 3 and 4.
22 Delta. Then we got piled into the right rear.
All of that was continuing to happen. The 54 got to the outside of Denny Hamlin, and then Denny was trying to get the position back. The 54 tried to get in behind Denny. A big checkup, chain reaction, contact down into 3, gets the 54 spun around. So let's take a look here. Down the back straightaway, 54 trying to get in this hole right here. Joey. Wow. Joey Logano just got in the back of the 54 and never let up.
Also included Daniel Suarez and Brad Keselowski. Michael McDowell, he was involved in a couple incidents. I know Todd Gilliland did at 1.2, but Hamlin, he needed to advance. Like, he needed to have a good finish. He needed to win, basically. I mean, he had the problem last week, and then he led 156 laps in this race. He ended up finishing 3rd, but it wasn't enough. Another driver that led laps, Martin Truex Jr. led 47. I was shocked that the fact that Truex Jr. did not advance because of how well he was in the regular season. I picked him to win the championship, and he didn't even advance to the Final 4. He struggled. He finished 12th, I believe, last car in the lead lap. William Byron advanced barely over Hamlin. He ended up finishing 13th, first car lap down. Another driver that led laps was Chase Elliott. He led 83 and finished 17th. But it was a decent race. I will say there was a lot of rubber issues from what I heard. The track was like very rubbered up, and some people had tire problems and couldn't get grip. I know the pace car that got damaged from the track. The wiring underneath the car was messed up.
Looks like we might have an issue with our pace car.
Yeah, it's pulled up to the top of the racetrack, and now it's starting to move here. I'm not sure exactly what was going on. They're struggling to get the car to move. We have a cleanup truck pacing the front of the field, so we have that under control. But yeah, it just pulls up to the top. I don't know.
And these drivers are they're trying to figure out what to do because they have to follow the pace car.
And Chase is like, I don't want to pass you, but man,
Right.
I don't think I'm allowed to stop right here.
Hey, you said before the race that we would see things we've never seen before.
All right, here we go. Oh my, now we're really seeing something.
Oh, this is so good right here. This is.
Can they not just push it with another truck or?
It's a good-looking car.
We're going to put it on display.
Marty.
Rick, you got to love the Martinsville fans. They're literally in 1 and 2 cheering the tow truck about to tow the pace car. That's a new one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely something we haven't seen for quite some time.
Because of all the rubber and everything, the track was apparently really dirty. I know Ryan Newman had to get help after the race because he was breathing in exhaust for like the last 100 laps. And there were some other drivers that were battling with the heat. I know Kyle Busch absolutely struggled. He finished 27th. I've never seen Kyle Busch drive that poorly. He didn't drive like bad, but I haven't seen him finish that poorly at a Martinsville race ever. Kevin Harvick, I thought he was going to do better than he did. He finished 16th, but man, just looking at the top 10, Eric Almirola, I really hoped he would have won because, he had made the announcement. We had all seen that, that he's probably going to retire, but there's still rumors he may just run part-time, even if anything, the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. There's rumors of Noah going to the 10. But, I was hoping he was going to win. He led 66. He got passed by Blaney with around 16 to go. Blaney ended up getting the win, and, Blaney was fast all weekend. He had a very fast car. He led 145 laps. So congrats to Blaney on advancing. He has a chance to win the championship. Chase Briscoe, I knew he was going to be solid. I don't know why I didn't get him out of my garage, but then again, I didn't have the chance. And then Joey Logano, he ran well, finished 5th. But Buscher, he needed to win to advance. He finished 8th. He never led a lap in the race. But one driver that really impressed me was Todd Gilliland. And I'll say the reason why is because, he had an incident early in the race. And Martinsville's not been his best track, but he was out here in the top 10 throughout the day. So, honestly, Mike, I'll give the race like a 6 out of 10. It wasn't the best race, but it was better than last year's.
I thought that the race looked pretty decent from what I saw. It was definitely way better than both Martinsville races last season, as I'm sure you may remember, and even the spring race from this year, now that I'm thinking about it. You did make a lot of great points, and I guess one main point I want to mention is with Ryan Blaney. You were talking about him earlier. Ryan Blaney was a guy that I talked about, and Cam was talking about, that he is very hit or miss at Martinsville.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's had really good runs. Sometimes he's had really crappy runs. This time, he showed up when it mattered the most, and his team showed up when it mattered the most. They gave him the perfect car to run up in the front, and Ryan drove aggressively enough to get past all the other contenders like Reddick and Hamlin in order for him to win the race and get in front of them. And he had some adversity throughout the day. Like we saw him move up Tyler Reddick.
Cleared him yet, Kim. Oh, up into the racetrack, they make contact. An issue with the 12. He got up the racetrack. Let's see if he gets it righted again. More contact made. Blaney might have an issue.
I think they're just banging into each other. They're just racing.
Yeah, I think Blaney's issue is just that short fuse, man. He is always a guy that doesn't take much to get under his skin.
Blue with the yellow stripe flag being shown.
And I saw some people getting upset by that, which I don't know why. That was a clean
Imagine
move.
you get butthurt over that.
Yeah, exactly. And then we saw Hamlin. It looked like he tried to spin him out, but Ryan Blaney just has some of the best car control in NASCAR and ended up saving it.
Hamlin fighting on that outside. New players into the picture as contact is made into turn 3.
Hamlin is a little whiny bleep once again for trying to wreck Ryan Blaney. And if somebody did that to him, he would get mad. That's the second week in a row I will say that. But yeah, Todd Gilliland definitely getting a top 10, especially with you saying he got into a wreck. That definitely is impressing to me. Eric Almirola getting second. I knew he was good at Martinsville, but I didn't think he'd be good enough to get a top 5. So that was pretty cool to see him get a top 5 and potentially even his last top 5 if he doesn't get a top 5 this season or this next week at Phoenix. Who knows? But overall, from what I saw, I would also have to agree with you and give the race probably a 6 or a 7. So Yeah, I put
Yeah.
the results for the race up a little late, so I'm just gonna edit it in.
So taking a look at what you guys had to say, 0% said great, 75% said good, 25% said mess, that's okay, and nobody said bad.
You
So
know, yeah, Harrison Burton ran pretty decently too in the 21.
yeah, but he got
Um,
spun out.
yeah. You know, Brad Keselowski, he needed the win to advance too, and he got involved in that one wreck. He didn't really have a chance, and Reddick, Reddick's hit or miss in Martinsville too, so I didn't put him on my fantasy lineup. I was like, I don't
I
know if
did
I.
not think of Reddick at
But
all.
yeah, we got the final four drivers. We got Blaney, Bell, Larson, and Byron. It's quite the lineup.
This is a
One Jovic
very
driver, one Penske driver, and two Hendrick drivers.
right. It's a very young Final Four as well,
Yeah, I'm
which
excited
is
for it.
good. Which is
Yeah.
good. I want to see what kind of the future generation, if you could say, looks like of NASCAR, because a lot of the veterans are starting to fizzle, if you
Well,
will.
this is Larson's like 10th year in the Cup Series, actually, which is making me feel old.
Right, that
But
does make me feel really old.
he does have one championship. Everyone else hasn't won a championship before in the Cup Series, so it's gonna be quite the fight. I'm hoping Phoenix actually has a good race for once.
For sure. I guess since it's all three series, we can talk about each series Final Four. Starting out with the truck race, I think that this race will be okay. The last couple of years have been all right at Phoenix. We've seen some surprises. Um, I think that I know last year Zane Smith deserved it. I can't remember the year before, but I know last year Zane Smith 100% deserved his
Yeah,
championship. And I think this year we will get another deserving champion. I'm going to stick with my championship pick and go with Carson Hocevar. The final four for the trucks is Hocevar, Heim, Infinger, and Ben Rhodes. And I will 100% back my fellow 2003 boy, Carson Hocevar.
you know, this is like going to be really tough to pick because I've picked Ben Rhodes to win a championship before and he came close. And Enfinger, he's been a surprise at times with some of these races. Like I didn't expect him to do well, and he ended up doing well. The race is starting at 10 o'clock on Friday Eastern time, which is pretty late for the people like us on the East Coast. But I think that Hocevar will have a good race, but I just don't think he's going to win. I just don't see it happening. I think it's going to be between either Heim or Infinger, and I'm going to go with Corey Heim to win the championship.
I'm just going to say if Hocevar or Heim doesn't win the championship, I'm going to be a little upset because I felt those two were the most deserving.
Yeah, fair.
But for the Xfinity race, final four for that, John Hunter Nemechek, Justin Allgaier, Sam Mayer, and Cole Custer. That's another really good final four. And I pretty much got all my picks right except for Sam Mayer. I did not expect him to win at Homestead. I thought Austin Hill was going to make it. But I think I'm going to, again, stick with my championship pick, and I'm going to say John Hunter Nemechek is going to win it. But I am rooting for Justin Allgaier. And I think that both John Hunter Nemechek and Carson Hocevar will both win the race, just to clarify.
I agree with you completely. The race is Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm the same with you. I'm thinking that John Hunter Nemechek wins the championship. I think I had predicted him to win too earlier on in the year. And then Justin Allgaier. I'm hoping he wins, but at the same time, I wouldn't be upset about Cole Custer winning. And even though I wouldn't say he deserves it compared to some of the other guys, it just would be quite interesting to see a sure Haas driver win an Xfinity Series championship.
I think that John Hunter Nemechek is without a doubt the most deserving, and the second most that was most deserving was Hill, but he's obviously out now. So, but it would be cool. I think the race will be pretty solid racing. It has been solid the last few years in the Xfinity Series. Like in, I think 21, we saw Daniel Hemrick win, and then this past season we saw Ty Gibbs win. So taking a look for the Cup race, I hope this is going to be a good race. The championship race has not been that great, and it's mostly been dominated by the actual champion. The final four, like we mentioned, is William Byron, Ryan Blaney. I just forgot.
Oh my
Christopher
goodness.
Bell,
And Kyle Larson.
and Kyle Larson. Thank you. God, that was really stupid of me. I apologize. Um, Obviously, like I mentioned, that's a great Final Four. Really cool to see a lot of the younger guys in it. Christopher Bell's in it for his second year in a row. I think that I'm going to stick with my pick with William Byron, but it has been a little tough because Byron has seemed a little bit the last couple races. He had a tough race today, but still rallied enough points to make it to the championship four. But I think his team can turn it up, and he is really good at Phoenix. So I would not be shocked at all if he won it. And I think he wins the race too.
Yeah, I'd say the winner of the championship wins the race too. That's how it's been the last couple of years. I really want to go to a championship race at some point in my life. I was thinking about going next year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I think that the race will be mid. Phoenix has just not been great the last couple of years, and I think there maybe be about 5 cautions in the race, but it'll be okay. I just think we'll see a lot of battles between the top 4 and the top 10 throughout the race. I could see Blaney leading laps, Bell leading laps. I see all of them leading laps, but Byron won he won the race earlier this year there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Byron wins. But at the same time, Larson, he's been okay at Phoenix, but at the same time, like, we'll see if his pit crew could step up like it did a couple years ago when he won the championship. So maybe it could come down to that again. Who knows? Blaney, he's won 2 of the last 5 races. I think he's definitely going to be really strong. He's going to give it his all, and that's what I want to see. I want to see these drivers give it all for the championship, and I'm sure they will. Byron, for me, okay, I'm gonna say it's going to be between Bell and Byron, and Bell is a really good short track driver, but I just see that team, they've just been so consistent throughout the year. And then Byron, he's won a lot of races this year. It's going to be really tough, but I don't want to pick the same person as you, but I'm gonna go with a little bit of a bold pick here. I'm gonna go with Christopher Bell to win the championship. As much as I want to see Byron win it, out of all of them, I'd rather see Byron win it, but I'm gonna go with Christopher Bell. I know it's a little bit of a bold pick, but he's ran here a lot as well. So he's ran. I think he's won here in the Xfinity Series. I know. He ran in the Truck Series at this track too back in the day. So I want to say Christopher Bell captures his first NASCAR Cup Series championship. Right. Then again, this is going to be one of the hardest ones to predict in that I can remember. Like, this is probably going to be the toughest one to predict.
Right. I think that Bell is very fast on the short tracks. I like him getting maybe around second. I still don't know about the championship, but I see your points there. He is really good at short tracks. He's really good at Phoenix. Joe Gibbs in general is good at short tracks. So I could see him running really well. So, short tracks in general. That does include Phoenix. I just wanted to mention in general, they're good at short tracks. So they know what they're doing on these tracks. I could see Christopher Bell winning it, but is he the most deserving driver? No, I think William Byron is easily.
So Bell's had a great year though, and Byron definitely. If we're doing it just regular season, obviously it's it would be Byron or Tricks. But I wanted to make this point earlier. I didn't talk about this, but Denny Hamlin in his post race interview seemed to be very positive, despite choking again. And obviously, people got to say right now he's the biggest choker in NASCAR history when it comes to championships. But he seemed to be, taking the loss well. But he and Blaney had multiple incidents in the playoffs this year, so I wonder if that's a brewing for rivalry. I don't know if it's not really an official rivalry, but it would be an interesting rivalry if that is the if that is the case. We
Well,
got. Go ahead.
we'll have to see with that next year, and for sure the show will continue on for next year. So I can't wait to talk about it.
And for before we go, we got some memes for y'all. Memes of the week. We got a couple nominees. First, we got Vanilla Wafers 33 with the 2023 in a nutshell for Hendrick Motorsports.
Are you having fun?
Of course.
And Eminem, are you having fun? Two of us are having fun. This is
very accurate. You know, I'm actually shocked that Chase Elliott hasn't won a race this year. Still, that has surprised me, but I
And he
hope it
won't.
stays that way a little bit because
Yeah, he won't.
sometimes his fans are a little kind of crazy. But I will say, you know, I have met you nice Chase Elliott fans, but
Yeah.
you know, some of them are just a little crazy.
Chase, I feel like Chase will be back next year, but we can get into that when we talk about the grades video.
You know, honestly, I think Ellie will probably only get 1 or 2 next year.
That's
Next
still
up-
better than 0.
Next up, we got Richard Childress with the NASCAR memes IG. Richard Childress watching both of his cars miss the Xfinity Championship 4. Oh man, Childress memes, and then you know he also had NASCAR memes IG had Sheldon Creed watching Justin Allgaier pass him off turn 4. That was quite interesting. But one of my other favorite memes, and I don't know if y'all knew this, but Haley Deegan got engaged to Chase Avery. So congrats to them. I knew it was going to happen eventually. You know, it's just I was surprised it takes so long. But
Yeah, the Simps
you
are
know,
real mad about that.
exactly, and that's what this meme by Tomboy Racing is about, which you'll see on the screen. So yeah, that's our memes of the week. Is there anything else you want to talk about as we conclude this episode?
Nope. Just really excited to watch the championship 4 races, even though the truck race is at a really stupid time. But yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Make sure you guys follow our socials, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
See y'all.
You only calling now, you wanting what I think.